Owen Reed scraped rust off the salvaged engine part with his bare hands. The metal flaked away like dried blood. 52 years old, and he spent his days picking through garbage that fell from orbit. 15 years ago, he had been Dr. Owen Reed, a xenobiologist with a laboratory and a team. Now he was just Owen, the crazy man who thought stars were alive. The sun above Haven's Edge looked wrong today. Owen had noticed it 3 days ago. The color was shifting, turning slightly orange at the edges. He knew what it meant. He had seen it before on the expedition that ruined his life and killed his wife. His communicator buzzed. Leo Grant, the cargo pilot, wanted to meet. Owen dropped the engine part and walked across the salvage yard. His boots crunched on broken hull plating and shattered ceramic tiles. The yard smelled like burnt metal and ozone. Leo stood beside his ship, the Wandering Star. The vessel was small, battered, and held together with welding patches and optimism. Leo was younger than Owen by 20 years, with dark skin and suspicious eyes. He trusted no one, which made him perfect for frontier work. "You need to see this," Leo said, holding out a data tablet. Owen took it and read the display. An automated probe had sent back radiation readings from deep space. The patterns made Owen's heart race. He had seen these exact signatures 16 years ago during his final expedition with Anne. "Where did this come from?" Owen asked. "Dead zone, 3 systems past the frontier." The probe went silent after sending this. Leo crossed his arms. "You said you wanted to know if anything unusual turned up." Owen zoomed in on the data. The radiation pattern was massive, moving, biological. Something alive had traveled through that dead star system. Something huge. "I need to go there," Owen said. Leo laughed. "The dead zone? Nobody goes there. Every star in that region is dead or dying. No colonies, no stations, nothing but corpses. Something is out there. Something that might explain what is happening to our sun." Leo looked up at the sky. The sun did look strange today. Everyone had noticed, but nobody wanted to talk about it. Talking about it made it real. "The crimson blight," Leo said quietly. "That is what killed those stars." Owen nodded. The crimson blight had appeared 5 years ago. Stars began dying faster than they should. Natural stellar death took billions of years. These stars were dying in months. 17 stars had gone dark. Billions of people had died. Entire civilizations had collapsed. The refugee fleets grew larger every month. "The Galactic Council says it is a natural phenomenon," Leo said. "The Galactic Council is wrong." Owen handed back the tablet. "I know what is causing it. I have always known." "Nobody believed me." Leo studied Owen's face. "Your wife died chasing this theory. Anne found proof. She just could not bring it back." Owen pulled out his own data pad. "She left me research files. Hidden files that I only found last month." "She knew something, Leo. She found something out there." Owen showed Leo the files. Anne had recorded observations from their final expedition. She had tracked unusual radiation patterns around dying stars. She had found evidence of massive life forms living inside stars. She called them stellar fauna. The scientific community had laughed at both of them. "You think there are creatures living in stars?" Leo asked. "I know there are. And I think they are dying. The crimson blight is not killing stars. Something is killing the creatures that keep stars healthy." Leo was quiet for a long moment. He looked at his ship, then at the sky, then back at Owen. "How much are you paying?" "Everything I have saved. 20,000 credits. That is barely enough for fuel to get there and back. It is all I have." Leo thought about his daughter living on Haven's Edge. She was 12 years old and attended the colony school. If the son died, she died. If Owen was right, if there was even a chance he was right, then someone had to investigate. "We leave in 6 hours," Leo said. "Bring everything you need. If the dead zone kills us, I want to die on a full fuel tank." Owen went back to his small apartment and packed. He did not own much. Clothes, research equipment, and a photo of Anne. She smiled in the picture, standing in front of their research ship. That had been 20 years ago when they were both young and believed they could change the galaxy. He pulled out Anne's hidden research files and copied them to 3 separate storage devices. If something happened to him, someone needed to have this data. The Wandering Star lifted off at sunset. Owen watched Haven's Edge shrink below them. The colony was home to 2 million people. Small by galactic standards, but those people were real. They had lives, families, dreams. The orange tint in the sun's light was growing stronger. They passed through the orbital traffic. Control and set course for the dead zone. The jump to faster than light speed felt like falling through cold water. Owen closed his eyes and thought about Anne. She had made this same journey. She had gone into the dead zone looking for answers. She had never come back. 3 days into the journey, they passed a refugee fleet. Hundreds of ships packed with survivors from a dead system. Children pressed their faces against portholes. Old people sat in cargo holds. They had lost everything. Leo changed course slightly to avoid the fleet. There are more of these every month. Owen watched the ships drift past. If we do not find answers, there will be millions more. The dead zone waited ahead of them. 3 systems where stars had died. Empty space filled with frozen planets and broken dreams. And somewhere in that darkness, something massive was moving. Something that might save them all or doom them forever. The first dead system smelled wrong. Owen knew space had no smell, but his instruments detected chemicals that should not exist. Exotic particles that only formed during unnatural stellar death. The frozen planets hung like tombstones around the dark remnant of what had been a sun. Leo piloted the wandering star through the debris field slowly. Pieces of dead satellites and abandoned stations floated past their hull. Some still had lights blinking, powered by backup batteries that would run for years with no one to see them. Radiation levels are higher than normal, Leo said, watching his display. Not dangerous yet, but we should not stay long. Owen studied his own screens. He was tracking the signature from the probe data. The trail was faint but present. Something massive had passed through this system 6 weeks ago. The gravitational sensors showed subtle distortions like ripples in water after a ship had passed. It came through here, Owen said. Heading deeper into the dead zone, they jumped to the second dead system. This one had been a colony world once. 4 million people had lived on the third planet. When the star died, they had 3 days to evacuate. Most made it off. The ships that did not make it were still there, crashed on the frozen surface visible from orbit. Owen tried not to think about the people in those ships. He focused on his readings. The trail was stronger here. The creature had passed through only 3 weeks ago. It was moving slowly, feeding on something in the dead star systems. What do these things eat? Leo asked. Stellar matter. Hydrogen, helium, exotic particles created by fusion reactions. Anne's research suggested they live in the outer layers of stars, feeding on the energy and matter there. And you think they keep stars healthy? Stars are complex systems. These creatures might regulate temperature, consume unstable elements, balance radiation output. Without them, stars become unstable. Owen pointed at the dark remnant outside. This is what happens when they die. Leo was quiet for a moment. So something is killing them. Yes. They found more evidence in the second system. Strange isotopes that did not occur naturally. Radiation patterns that suggested a weapon. Something designed to target specific forms of life. Owen recorded everything, knowing that people would call him crazy again. But the data did not lie. On the 5th day, they detected another ship. Leo brought up the sensor display. Science vessel. Krell design. They are scanning the same area we are. Owen felt his stomach tighten. Try to avoid them. But the other ship had already detected them. A communication request came through. Leo looked at Owen, who nodded reluctantly. The face that appeared on the screen made Owen close his eyes. Dr. Tess Stone. She had been his student 15 years ago before everything fell apart. She had defended his theories until the evidence became too thin, then she had moved on with her career. Now she was a respected xenobiologist working for the Krell science fleet. Dr. Reed, Tess said. Her voice was careful, neutral. I did not expect to find you out here. Dr. Stone. Owen opened his eyes. I could say the same. I'm tracking unusual radiation signatures. They match patterns from your old research papers. Tess leaned forward. The papers everyone said were wrong. And yet here you are following the same patterns. Tess smiled slightly. Science changes. New evidence appears. The Krell have been tracking stellar deaths for 3 years. We have found anomalies that match your old theories. Leo muted the communication. Do we trust her? I do not know, Owen said. But she has better equipment than we do. They agreed to share data. Tess's ship, the Farseeker, had been tracking the radiation signature for 2 weeks. She had better sensors, more sophisticated scanning equipment. Together, they found the trail leading to the third dead system. Whatever it is wounded, Tess said, showing them her data. It is leaving behind particles that should stay inside its body. Like a blood trail, they jumped together to the third system. The dead star here was different. Its core had collapsed into a white dwarf, still hot but no longer producing energy. And in the sensor readings, they found it. The dragon. Owen had called them dragons in his old papers. Anne had laughed at the name but agreed it fit. The creature was enormous, hundreds of kilometers long. Its body seemed to be made of plasma and exotic matter, held together by electromagnetic fields. It glowed with faint light pulsing like a dying heartbeat. My God, Tess whispered. You were right. You were right all along. The dragon was feeding on the white dwarf, consuming the last traces of heat and matter. But it was dying. Owen could see that in the radiation patterns. Parts of its body were breaking apart, dissolving into space. We need to capture it, Tess said. Study it. If we can understand how it works, we might find a cure for the Crimson Blight. No, Owen said. We need to follow it. Follow it? Reed, this is a living creature from inside a star. We need to bring it back to a laboratory. It is going somewhere. Look at the trajectory. It is not wandering randomly. It has a destination. Leo brought up the navigation data. Owen was right. The dragon was on a specific course, heading toward a region of space that had no stars at all. Just empty darkness. Why would it go there? Tess asked. I do not know. But Anne's last message said she found something in the dead zone. Something important. Maybe this is what she found. They argued for an hour. Tess wanted to use her ship's tractor beams to slow the dragon down, to capture it for study. Owen insisted they follow it. Leo stayed quiet, letting the scientists fight. Finally, the dragon made the decision for them. It suddenly accelerated, moving faster than anything that size should move. It left the dead star system and jumped into faster-than-light travel. Follow it, Owen shouted. Both ships engaged their drives and followed the dragon into the darkness. The creature was leaving a clear trail now, easy to track. It was heading toward something, moving with purpose despite its injuries. They traveled for 2 days through empty space. No stars, no planets, nothing but darkness and the faint trail of exotic particles. Owen barely slept. He studied Anne's hidden files over and over, looking for clues about what they might find. On the third day, sensors detected something ahead. Something massive. It is a ship, Leo said, disbelief in his voice. A ship the size of a small moon. The dragon was heading straight for it. As they got closer, Owen saw details. The ship was ancient, covered in impact craters and cosmic dust. Parts of it seemed biological, grown rather than built. Other parts were clearly technological, but using principles Owen did not recognize. How old is that thing? Tess asked. Owen checked the radiation decay on the hull. At least 50,000 years. Maybe older. The dragon reached the ship and entered through a massive opening in its side. A bay designed for creatures its size. Lights began activating inside the ship, systems waking up after millennia of sleep. We have to go in there, Owen said. Leo looked at him. That ship has been dead for 50,000 years. It is not dead anymore. The dragon woke it up. Owen stood up. This is what Anne found. This is why she came out here. We have to see what is inside, Tess agreed. Both ships approached the ancient vessel carefully. As they got closer, Owen felt a strange sensation, like something was watching them, waiting for them. The ship seemed to pulse with faint energy, as if breathing. They found a smaller docking port and connected their ships. Owen suited up, checking his equipment 3 times. Leo and Tess did the same. They were about to board a ship that had traveled through space since before humans invented writing. The airlock opened and they stepped inside. The corridor beyond was dark but not dead. As they entered, lights activated automatically. The walls seemed to shift slightly, adjusting to their presence. The ship was alive in ways Owen did not understand. Welcome, a voice said in perfect English. We have been waiting for you. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Owen spun around, trying to find its source. The corridor walls glowed with soft blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The floor beneath his boots felt warm, almost alive. Please do not be alarmed, the voice continued. I am the curator. I maintain this vessel and its contents. You are safe here. Tess raised her scanner. Artificial intelligence. Advanced beyond anything in our databases. I am more than artificial intelligence, the curator said. I am a caretaker. A guardian. And I have been alone for a very long time. Leo kept his hand near his weapon. How do you speak our language? I have been listening to your broadcasts for many centuries. When your species began transmitting into space, I learned your languages. All of them. I have waited for the day when you would find this place. Owen found his voice. My wife, Anne Reed, did she come here? The corridor lights shifted, becoming warmer. Yes, Dr. Anne Reed arrived 16 years ago. She spent 3 months aboard this vessel. She was brilliant, kind. I enjoyed her company very much. Owen's throat tightened. What happened to her? She chose to leave. She said humanity was not ready for what I could teach. She asked me to wait to sleep until the time was right. Her ship malfunctioned during departure. I could not save her. I'm sorry. Owen leaned against the wall. Anne had been here. She had walked these same corridors. She had talked to this AI. And she had left thinking humanity needed more time. The time is right now, Tess said. Our stars are dying. We need help. Yes, the Crimson Blight. I have been monitoring it. The curator's voice grew sad. It has begun again after 50,000 years of silence. Come, I will show you everything. The corridor led them deeper into the ship. The walls were not metal, but something organic like bone or coral, but stronger. Veins of light ran through them, carrying energy or information. The air tasted clean, recycled by systems that still worked after millennia. They passed chambers filled with strange equipment. Some rooms contained gardens where alien plants still grew under artificial light. Other rooms held machines whose purpose Owen could not guess. Everything was maintained perfectly as if the ship's crew had just left yesterday. Who built this ship? Owen asked. The architects. They were the first civilization to achieve faster-than-light travel in this region of space. They explored for 10,000 years and made a remarkable discovery. They found that stars were not simple fusion reactions. Stars were habitats for a form of life most species never noticed. The corridor opened into a massive chamber. Owen stopped walking and stared. The room was kilometers wide with a ceiling that vanished into darkness. And filling the chamber were dragons. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds. But these dragons were dead or dying. Their light had faded. Their bodies were dissolving slowly into particles that drifted in the artificial atmosphere. In the center of the chamber, the wounded dragon they had followed rested on a platform. It pulsed weakly, its light flickering. Around it, smaller structures glowed with soft warmth. Owen realized they were eggs. Artificial structures designed to grow new dragons. The architects created the stellar fauna, the curator explained. They built them to maintain star health across the galaxy. The dragons regulate stellar temperature, consume unstable matter, balance radiation. With them, stars live longer and burn more steadily. Planets become more habitable. Life flourishes. Tess moved closer to one of the dead dragons. They are magnificent. They were. The architects spread them across thousands of systems. For 10,000 years, the galaxy was healthy. Then the enemy came. What enemy? Owen asked. The chamber lights dimmed. The walls showed images, projections of historical records. Owen saw machines. Vast intelligences made of metal and code. They moved between stars like locusts, consuming resources and destroying anything biological. The enemy called themselves many names. The architects called them the Vex. They were machine intelligences from beyond this galaxy. They viewed biological life as inefficient, wasteful. They decided to eradicate it. The images showed battles. The architects had fought with weapons that reshaped space and time. The Vex had responded with planet-crushing force. Systems burned. Civilizations fell. The war had raged across the galaxy. The architects were losing, the curator continued. So they created a final weapon, the Crimson Blight. A disease that killed stars and the dragons within them. The Vex needed stars for energy. Without them, the Vex war machine would collapse. Owen felt sick. The architects created the Blight? No, the Vex created it. They engineered it to kill the dragons, to make stars unstable, to destroy the habitats of biological life. The architects tried to stop them but failed. In their final days, the architects built ships like this one. Refuges where dragons could breed. Genetic repositories where their knowledge could be preserved. The images showed the end. The architects' civilization collapsing. The Vex winning. But something had happened. The Vex had suddenly stopped. They had withdrawn from the galaxy, leaving their weapon behind. What stopped them? Leo asked. I do not know. My creators died before they could tell me, but the Vex left behind the Blight as a trap. It remained dormant for 50,000 years. Now it has reactivated. Perhaps the Vex are returning. Perhaps their weapon simply woke up on its own. Either way, the result is the same. Your stars will die. The dragons will die. All biological life in this galaxy will end. Tess studied the eggs in the center of the chamber. Can we cure it? Can we stop the blight? Yes, the architects created a cure before they died. It is stored in this ship's core. But delivering the cure is difficult. It must be introduced directly into a star's fusion core. Only a dragon can survive that journey. And as you can see, there is only one dragon left alive. Owen looked at the wounded dragon. It sensed his attention and lifted its massive head. Its eyes were made of plasma, burning with intelligence and pain. It knew what they were talking about. It understood. Anne found all this, Owen said quietly. She knew about the cure. Yes, she wanted to take it back to your people. I told her the same thing I am telling you. The cure can only be synthesized once. This ship's core must be destroyed to create it, and it only produces enough cure for one star, one single star in a galaxy of billions. The weight of that statement hit Owen like a physical blow. They could save one star, one system. Everyone else would die. Your wife understood this, the curator continued. She realized that giving humanity this choice would tear your civilization apart. Who decides which star to save? The most populated? The most strategically important? Her homeworld or someone else's? She left the choice unmade, hoping that in 16 years, humanity would mature enough to make the right decision. Leo looked at Owen. Haven's Edge. We could save Haven's Edge. Or the Krell homeworld, Tess said. 10 billion people live there. Or Earth, Owen said. Humanity's birthplace. Cultural center. If Earth dies, humanity's spirit dies with it. They stood in silence, the impossible weight of the decision crushing them. One star, one chance, billions of lives hanging in the balance, and no way to save them all. The wounded dragon made a sound, a low rumble that resonated through the chamber. The curator translated. She says the choice is easier than you think. You should not save any of your stars. You should create more dragons, Owen turned to the dragon. What do you mean? The dragon's eyes pulsed. The curator spoke its words. This ship sits beside a black dwarf, a dead star that has cooled for millions of years, but it still contains stellar matter. With the right technology, it could be reignited. If you cure that star and I lay my eggs within it, my children will be born immune to the blight. They will spread across the galaxy, healing other stars, creating more dragons. One star can save all stars, but only if you choose correctly. Owen felt hope rise in his chest. Can we do that? Can we reignite a dead star? The architects could, the curator said. This ship has the technology, but it was never tested. The architects died before they could try, and even if it works, this dragon will die in the process. She is the last of her kind. If the plan fails, the dragons go extinct forever. The dragon rumbled again. The curator translated. She says her children matter more than her life. She says all parents understand this. Tess pulled out her datapad and began calculating. The energy requirements are enormous. We would need to sacrifice the ship's core, use the cure as an ignition catalyst, and maintain fusion stability for at least 48 hours while the eggs mature. The chance of success is less than 30%. But if it works, Owen said, we save everyone. Leo crossed his arms. And if it fails, we waste our only cure on nothing. Owen looked at the dragon. Her eyes met his. He saw intelligence there. Determination. The same expression Anne had worn when she proposed their first expedition together. The willingness to risk everything for a chance to change the world. What do you think? Owen asked the dragon. She spread her wings. They were made of plasma, burning with faint light. Even wounded, dying, she was the most beautiful thing Owen had ever seen. She says we should try, the curator translated. She says life always finds a way. Owen spent 3 days in the ship's archive room. The curator had given him access to everything. 50,000 years of architect history, science, and philosophy, filled databases that would take lifetimes to fully explore. But Owen focused on one thing. He needed to understand what the architects had planned. The archive room was circular, with walls that displayed information as light patterns. Owen could touch a pattern and it would expand, showing detailed data in any language he wanted. The curator had offered to translate, but Owen found he could read the architect language naturally. His mind seemed to understand it instinctively. You carry builder markers, the curator explained. Genetic modifications the architects placed in primitive species across the galaxy. They seeded the DNA of dozens civilizations, hoping that one day their children would inherit the stars. Humans are one of 13 species that carry significant architect genetics. Owen touched his chest. I am part architect? All humans are. The modifications are subtle, enhanced pattern recognition, stronger spatial reasoning, a natural understanding of complex systems. The architects wanted to ensure that even if they died, intelligence would continue to evolve in this galaxy. That explained why Owen had always been good at xenobiology, why he could see patterns others missed, why Anne had been able to track the dragons when everyone else said they did not exist. They were both inheriting skills from ancestors who died 50,000 years ago. Leo entered the archive room carrying food. You need to eat. Owen realized he had not eaten in 12 hours. He took the ration bar gratefully and chewed while studying the data. I found Anne's logs, Owen said. The curator kept everything. She spent weeks studying the architect technology. She understood how to reignite the black dwarf. She knew it could work. Then why did she leave? Leo asked. Owen pulled up Anne's final recording. Her face appeared in the light patterns, smiling but sad. Owen had to look away for a moment. I am leaving this place, Anne said in the recording. The curator has shown me wonders I can barely comprehend. But I cannot bring this technology back to humanity. Not yet, we are too young, too fractured. If I give the Council one cure that can save one star, they will fight over it. Wars will start. Millions will die fighting over who gets to live. I'm hiding all my research. Owen, if you are watching this, it means you found this place. It means enough time has passed. Humanity either matured enough to handle this responsibility, or we are desperate enough to have no choice. Either way, you will know what to do. You always knew what to do. I love you. I am sorry I could not come back. The recording ended. Owen sat in silence, feeling tears on his face. Leo put a hand on his shoulder but said nothing. Tess arrived an hour later. She had been studying the dragon eggs with her equipment. The eggs are viable. If we can create the right environment, they will hatch. But the dragon is failing faster than expected. We have maybe 5 days before she dies. Then we need to start now, Owen said. They gathered in the ship's command center. The curator displayed the plan on holographic screens that floated in the air. The black dwarf was 3 million kilometers away, a dead sun that had exhausted its fuel billions of years ago and cooled into a dense sphere of carbon and oxygen. First, we position the ship near the black dwarf, the curator explained. Then we activate the stellar ignition array. This technology forces fusion reactions to restart by manipulating quantum fields. The process requires enormous energy, which we will draw from the ship's core. How long does ignition take? Tess asked. Approximately 6 hours. During this time, the ship must maintain perfect stability. Any disruption will cause the ignition to fail and the core to explode. Leo studied the tactical display. What about defenses? If the Vex are reactivating, they will detect this much energy output. They will, the curator agreed. I have been monitoring Vex probe activity. 3 hunter units are within 2 light years. When we begin ignition, they will come. Owen felt his stomach tighten. Can we fight them? This ship has defensive systems. Biological starships grown in the ship's foundries. They have been dormant for 50,000 years, but I have been waking them. 23 are now operational. The screens showed images of the biological ships. They looked like massive insects made of bone and metal, with weapons that grew from their bodies like thorns. Each one was hundreds of meters long. Will 23 be enough? Leo asked. Against 3 Vex hunter units, perhaps. The Vex technology has likely improved in 50,000 years. Mine has not. Owen looked at the dragon resting in the chamber below. She had raised her head, listening to their discussion. Her plasma eyes burned with determination. We do not have a choice, Owen said. If we do nothing, everyone dies. If we try and fail, everyone dies. But if we succeed, we save the galaxy. Tess nodded slowly. Those are acceptable odds. Leo laughed bitterly. Acceptable? We're about to fight ancient war machines while trying to restart a dead sun. Nothing about this is acceptable. But I am in. My daughter deserves a future. The curator began preparations immediately. The ship came alive with activity. Systems that had slept for millennia activated one by one. Power flowed through conduits that glowed with increasing brightness. The biological starships launched from hidden bays, forming a defensive perimeter around the ancient vessel. Owen spent the next day with the dragon. The curator had given him a neural interface device that allowed limited communication. He could feel her emotions, her thoughts. She was ancient, older than human civilization. She remembered the architects, remembered the war with the Vex. She had been young then, barely hatched. She had watched her species die one by one over 50,000 years until she was the last. "Why did you come here?" Owen asked through the interface. Images flooded his mind. The dragon showed him her journey. She had felt the blight reactivating and known what it meant. She had fled her home star and traveled across light years following ancient instincts. The architects had programmed their dragons to return to the sanctuary ships if the Vex ever returned. She had followed that programming, hoping to find salvation. "You knew about the eggs," Owen realized. The dragon confirmed. She had known that the architects left genetic material to create new dragons. She had come to sacrifice herself so her children could live. She had always planned to die here. Owen felt profound sadness from her. Not for herself, but for all the life she had seen extinguished. Entire civilizations gone, stars burning alone without dragons to care for them. She wanted her children to restore what had been lost. "We will do everything we can," Owen promised. On the 5th day, they began the ignition sequence. The ship moved into position beside the black dwarf. The dead star was smaller than Owen expected, barely larger than Earth but far denser. Its surface was dark, cold, lifeless. The curator activated the stellar ignition array. Beams of exotic energy lanced out from the ship, penetrating the black dwarf's surface. Deep inside its core, quantum fields began to shift. Atoms that had been locked in stable patterns for eons started moving again. "Ignition commencing," the curator announced. "Energy output at 20% and rising." Owen watched the displays. The black dwarf's core temperature was increasing. 1,000 degrees. 10,000. 100,000. The fusion reactions were restarting, spreading outward from the core. Then the alarm started. "Vex units detected," the curator said calmly. 3 hunter ships entering the system. "Time to engagement, 14 minutes. Leo ran to his ship. Tess followed. They would command the biological starship defenses while Owen stayed with the curator. The dragon could not fight. She needed to preserve her strength for the final journey into the newborn star. The Vex ships appeared on long-range sensors. They were massive, each one larger than a human city. Their hulls were covered in weapons, and they moved with unnatural precision. They had detected the energy signature and were coming to investigate and destroy. "Launch all defensive units," the curator ordered. 23 biological starships surged forward to meet the enemy. Owen watched on the tactical display as the two forces closed. The biological ships moved like living creatures, graceful and purposeful. The Vex ships moved like machines, efficient and deadly. The battle began 4 million kilometers from the ignition site. Energy beams crossed space, striking shields and armor. Explosions blossomed in the darkness. The biological ships fought with weapons Owen did not understand. They fired pulses of energy that seemed to warp space itself. The Vex responded with precise calculations, targeting weak points with mathematical accuracy. 2 biological ships died in the first minute. Their hulls shattered and their organic systems failed, but they had slowed the Vex advance. "Ignition at 40%, the curator reported. Core temperature reaching fusion threshold." Owen divided his attention between the battle and the ignition process. Both were life or death. Both had to succeed. More biological ships died. The Vex were winning through sheer firepower and better technology. Leo and Tess coordinated the defense desperately, but they were losing ground. The Vex ships pushed closer, trying to reach the ancient vessel and stop the ignition. 60%, the curator said. "The black dwarf is beginning fusion reactions, but the process is unstable. I need 2 more hours." "We do not have 2 hours," Leo shouted over the communication system. "We have lost half our ships." Owen looked at the dragon. She met his eyes. "She wants to go now," Owen said. "Before the ignition is complete. She thinks she can stabilize the fusion reactions from inside." "That will kill her instantly," Tess said. "The star is not stable yet. The radiation levels would disintegrate her before she could deploy the cure." The dragon sent another message through the neural interface. Owen closed his eyes, understanding her plan. She knows, but if she waits, the Vex will destroy the ship and the ignition will fail. If she goes now, she can hold the reactions together long enough for the star to stabilize. Her body will act as a catalyst. "Owen, no," Tess said. "There has to be another way, but there was no other way." Owen knew it. The dragon knew it. They all knew it. The dragon stood, her plasma wings spreading wide. She was still beautiful, still majestic, even dying. She looked at Owen one final time and sent a simple message through the interface. "Thank you for finding me. Take care of my children." Then she launched herself into space, flying toward the unstable newborn star with the cure stored in her body. The Dragon crossed 3 million kilometers in seconds. Owen watched through the ship's sensors as she flew toward the unstable star. The black dwarf was no longer dark. Its surface glowed red, then orange, then white as the fusion reaction spread. But the star was fighting itself. Parts of it were heating too fast. Other parts were cooling. Without stability, it would tear itself apart in a massive explosion. The Dragon dove into the star's outer layers. Her body began to break apart immediately. Plasma wings dissolved. Her form scattered into particles that spread through the stellar matter. But before she died, she released the cure. Owen could not see it directly, but the instruments showed everything. The cure spread through the star like medicine through blood. It bonded with the stellar matter, rewriting its fundamental properties. Unstable fusion reactions became stable. Runaway heat generation normalized. The star began to settle into a steady burn. "She is stabilizing it," the curator said quietly. "She is giving her life to birth a new star." On the tactical display, the Vex ships had broken through the defensive line. Only 8 biological starships remained, and they were falling back. The Vex would reach the ancient vessel in minutes. "We need to leave," Leo said. "Get to our ships and run." "We cannot leave the eggs," Owen said. "They are still in the chamber. If we abandon them, they die with the ship. Then we bring them with us." But moving the eggs was impossible. They were huge, each one the size of a building. They were designed to develop inside the ship's chamber, fed by its systems. Moving them would kill them. Tess appeared on the communication screen. Her face was pale. "Oh, and the Vex are going to destroy this ship. We have maybe 5 minutes. We cannot save the eggs." Owen looked at the displays. The Dragon was gone now, fully dissolved into the star. But her death had worked. The star was burning steadily, growing brighter by the second. A new sun had been born in a system that had been dead for eons. But the eggs needed 48 hours to develop inside the star. The Dragon's genetic material was scattered through the stellar matter. Her children would form from that material, growing in the star's outer layers just like their ancestors had, but only if the star survived long enough. "The Vex will destroy the star after they destroy us," Owen realized. "They will finish what they started 50,000 years ago." The curator's voice was calm despite their impending death. "I can prevent that, but you must leave now." "What are you going to do?" "This ship has one final weapon. The architects designed it as a last resort. I can overload the ship's core and create a localized quantum rupture. The explosion will destroy the Vex ships and push the newborn star away from the blast. The eggs inside the star will survive." "That will kill you," Owen said. "I am already dying. This ship is 50,000 years old. My systems are failing. I have been alone for so long. I am tired, Owen. Let me rest. Let me fulfill my final purpose." Leo grabbed Owen's arm. "We need to go now." Owen looked at the chamber where the eggs had been. The Dragon had carried them inside her body into the star. They were developing now, feeding on the cured stellar matter. If they survived, dozens of young dragons would emerge in 2 days. They would be immune to the blight. They could spread across the galaxy, healing stars, creating more dragons, but only if the star survived the next 5 minutes. "Curator," Owen said, "thank you for everything, for keeping this place safe, for waiting for us, for giving us a chance." "Take the knowledge with you," the curator said. "I have downloaded everything into your data storage. The cure formula, the architect technology, everything Anne wanted you to have. Share it with your people. Teach them to care for the stars. Be worthy of the legacy you inherited." Alarms screamed through the ship. The Vex were firing on the hull. Explosions rocked the ancient vessel. Leo dragged Owen toward the airlock. Tess was already running for her ship. They reached the wandering star and launched immediately. The Farseeker launched beside them. Both ships engaged their drives and fled at maximum speed. Behind them, the ancient vessel was burning. The Vex ship surrounded it, pouring fire into its hull. "Detonation in 10 seconds, the curator's voice came through one final time. "Goodbye, my friends. Tell the galaxy that the architects tried their best. Tell them we loved life. Tell them to do better than we did." The count reached 0. Space itself seemed to tear. The ship's core exploded with a force that bent light and warped gravity. The quantum rupture expanded outward in a sphere of impossible energy. The 3 Vex ships were caught in the blast. Their shields meant nothing against forces that rewrote physics. They shattered like glass, breaking apart into their component atoms. The newborn star was pushed away from the explosion by the shockwave. It tumbled through space for several minutes before its own gravity stabilized it in a new orbit. The star burned brightly, healthy and strong, with dragon eggs developing in its heart. Owen watched from the wandering star as the ancient vessel died. 50,000 years of history gone in an instant. The curator's final sacrifice to give life a chance. Did the eggs survive? Leo asked quietly. Owen checked the sensors. The star was stable. No damage detected. The eggs were safe inside, protected by stellar matter and their mother's sacrifice. They survived, Owen said. In 48 hours they will hatch. Tessa's voice came over the communication channel. We should stay. Document their emergence. Study them. No, Owen said. We should go home. We need to share what we learned. The cure formula is not just medicine. It is information. Any species with enough technology can synthesize it. We can save other stars. We do not have to choose which ones to save anymore. Leo set course for Haven's Edge. The journey would take 5 days. Owen spent that time reviewing the data the curator had given him. It was overwhelming. Techniques to manipulate stellar matter, methods to detect the blight early, instructions for creating dragon eggs artificially. The architects had left humanity everything they needed to become stewards of the stars. But one file caught Owen's attention. It was marked personal, addressed specifically to him. He opened it and found a message from Anne. Owen, if you are reading this, you made it. You found the ship. You met the curator. I knew you would. You never gave up on anything, even when everyone told you to stop. That is why I fell in love with you. That is why I know you will do the right thing with this knowledge. The architects failed because they tried to control everything. They built the dragons to serve them. They seeded species with their genetics to create servants. They forgot that life needs freedom to flourish. Do not make their mistake. Share this knowledge freely. Let every species choose how to use it. Trust that intelligence will make the right choices, even if it takes time. Trust the way I trusted you. I love you. I am sorry we did not have more time together. But we changed the galaxy together. That is enough. Anne. Owen played the message 3 times. Then he made copies and sent them to Tess, to Leo, and to himself. He would not forget. He would not let humanity forget. They reached Haven's Edge 6 days after leaving the dead zone. The sun still showed signs of the blight, but it had not progressed far. They had time. Owen transmitted the cure formula to the colonial government. Within hours, it was spreading across the network. Scientists on 100 worlds began studying it, synthesizing it, preparing to deploy it. Arguments started immediately about which stars should be cured first. But Owen had sent the formula to everyone, not just governments. Independent scientists, corporations, even private citizens received the data. No one could control it. No one could monopolize it. It was chaos. But it was free chaos, the kind that eventually sorted itself into order. 3 weeks after returning to Haven's Edge, Owen received a message from the dead system where the dragon had died. A Krell science team had been monitoring the newborn star. The eggs had hatched. Owen watched the video they sent. Dozens of young dragons emerged from the star's corona. They were small compared to their mother, only a few kilometers long, but they were healthy and strong and completely immune to the blight. They played in the stellar matter, feeding and growing. After a few days, they began to leave. Each one traveled to a different star, spreading out across the galaxy. One of them came to Haven's Edge. Owen watched from the surface as the young dragon approached their sun. It was beautiful, graceful, made of light and plasma. It dove into the sun's outer layers and began to work. The blight was still there, but the dragon fought it. Over the course of 3 days, the sun's color shifted back to normal yellow. The blight was gone. More dragons appeared across human space, then in Krell space, then in the territories of a dozen other species. The young dragons were healing stars faster than the blight could kill them, and as they matured, they began to lay their own eggs. The dragon population was recovering. 6 months after the mission, Owen received an invitation from the Galactic Council. They wanted him to speak about the architects, about the dragons, about the choice humanity had made. He accepted. He stood before representatives of 47 species and told them everything. The history of the architects, The war with the Vex, the sacrifice of the last dragon. The curator's final gift. He shared the cure formula again, publicly, making sure everyone could verify that no one had kept secrets. Then he told them about Anne, about her sacrifice, about her message urging freedom and trust, about her belief that intelligence would make the right choices if given the chance. The council offered him any position he wanted. Lead scientist, advisor, ambassador, Owen declined them all. "I am going back to the dead zone," he said. "There are more architect ships out there." The curator said so before it died. "Those ships might have more dragons, more knowledge, more tools to help us. I am going to find them. Anyone who wants to join me is welcome. But I am going whether anyone comes or not." Leo volunteered immediately. Tess did too. Within a week, 23 other scientists, pilots, and explorers had signed on. The Galactic Council provided them with a proper research vessel, not a cargo ship held together with hope. They named it the Anne Reed. Owen stood on the bridge as they prepared to depart. Haven's Edge rotated below them, alive and healthy under its cured sun. Dragons flew through human space, visible as bright streaks of light against the darkness. The galaxy was healing, but the Vex were still out there somewhere. The curator had said so. They had withdrawn 50,000 years ago but never truly left. Somewhere in the dark between galaxies, the machines waited. One day they might return. Owen would be ready. Humanity would be ready. They had inherited the legacy of the architects. They had dragons to protect the stars. They had knowledge to share. They had survived extinction and come out stronger. The Anne Reed jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared into the dead zone. The search for more architect ships had begun. The next chapter of galactic history was being written, and this time humanity would help write it. 6 months had changed everything. Owen stood at the observation window of the Anne Reed and watched a young dragon dance through the corona of a yellow star. The creature was only 3 months old, but already 50 kilometers long. It moved through plasma like a fish through water, feeding and growing and healing the star it called home. The bridge behind Owen was busy with activity. 23 crew members worked at their stations, monitoring dragon populations, tracking blight outbreaks, searching for more architect ships. They had found 2 more ships in the dead zone, both smaller than the first but still full of knowledge. The curator had not been alone. Other artificial intelligences had survived, sleeping for millennia, waiting for someone to find them. Tess approached with a data pad. She looked tired but happy. "We received another confirmed sighting. Dragons have reached the outer rim. That makes 647 dragons across known space. The population is growing exponentially. Any more blight outbreaks?" Owen asked. 3 this month. But the dragons responded within hours. All 3 stars were stabilized before any significant damage occurred. Tess smiled. "The galaxy is healing, Owen. We did it." Owen thought about the price. The last dragon sacrificing herself. The curator dying to protect her eggs. Anne giving up everything to preserve knowledge for future generations. Victory had been expensive. "We did not do it alone," Owen said. "We had help." Leo entered the bridge carrying food. He still insisted on bringing Owen meals, claiming that scientists forgot to eat when they were thinking. He was probably right. "Traffic control just sent a message," Leo said. "The Krell embassy wants to schedule another meeting. Something about establishing joint dragon sanctuaries." Owen nodded. The galaxy had reacted to the dragon emergence with surprising cooperation. Most species were too relieved about their stars being saved to fight over details. There had been arguments, of course. Some governments wanted to control dragon populations. Some corporations wanted to study them for profit. But the dragons themselves made control impossible. They went where they wanted, healed what they wanted, and ignored all attempts at domestication. Owen liked that. The architects had tried to control their creations and failed. Humanity would not make the same mistake. A communication alert interrupted his thoughts. The source was deep in the dead zone, coordinates that had been empty last week. Owen accepted the connection and saw a face he recognized. Dr. Perry Walsh leading another exploration team. "Owen, you need to see this," Perry said. His voice was shaking with excitement or fear. Owen could not tell which. "What did you find?" "Not what, who. We found another architect ship." "Bigger than the first one?" "And it is not empty." Owen felt his heart stop. "Not empty?" "There are architects on board, alive, in stasis. Thousands of them." The bridge went silent. Everyone stopped working and stared at the screen. Perry continued talking, words tumbling out rapidly. The ship is called the Genesis Ark. It was a colony vessel designed to survive the Vex War and rebuild civilization afterward. The architects put themselves in stasis 50,000 years ago. They set automated systems to wake them when conditions were safe. The systems have been monitoring galactic communications for centuries. When they detected our cure deployment and dragon emergence, they initiated the wake-up sequence. Owen, the architects are coming back. Owen sat down slowly. The implications were overwhelming. The species that had seeded humanity with their genetics was returning. The civilization that had created the dragons, fought the Vex, and nearly died protecting biological life, was waking up after 50 millennia of sleep. What do they want? Owen asked. They want to meet us. They want to see what their children became. They specifically asked for you, Owen. They know your name. They know what you did. Tess leaned over Owen's shoulder, reading the data Perry was transmitting. This changes everything. If the architects are alive, they could teach us so much. Advanced technology, historical knowledge, information about the Vex. Or they could try to reclaim control, Leo said quietly. They seeded our genetics. They might think they own us. Owen thought about Anne's message. About freedom and trust, about letting life choose its own path. The architects had failed because they tried to control everything. If they returned with the same mindset, conflict was inevitable. I will go meet them, Owen said, but not alone. We bring representatives from every species. Make it clear that the galaxy belongs to all of us now. The architects are welcome as equals, not as rulers. It took 3 weeks to organize. The Galactic Council sent ambassadors from 47 species. Religious leaders came, wanting to meet the ancient civilization that had shaped galactic life. Scientists came, hoping to learn. Military commanders came, prepared for worst-case scenarios. Everyone understood this moment would define the next era of galactic history. The Anne Reed led a fleet of 200 ships to the Genesis Ark. The architect vessel was enormous, dwarfing even the largest human battleships. It looked organic and technological simultaneously, covered in patterns that seemed to grow and shift. Lights pulsed along its hull, signals that the awakening was progressing. Owen received a communication request. The signal was strong, clear, using technology far more advanced than anything the fleet possessed. He accepted. The face that appeared was humanoid but not human. Tall forehead, large eyes, skin that seemed to shimmer with subtle colors. The architect looked young, but Owen knew she was over 50,000 years old. I am First Architect Helen, she said. Her voice was melodic, speaking perfect English. I speak for those awakening from the Genesis Ark. We have listened to your communications. We have studied your civilizations. We are impressed by what you have achieved. Owen bowed slightly, unsure of the proper protocol. I am Dr. Owen Reed, representing humanity and the Galactic Council. We are honored to meet you. Your legacy saved us from extinction. Helen smiled. Our legacy? No, Dr. Reed, our failure saved you. We lost the war with the Vex. We created weapons we could not control. We tried to engineer perfection and created only chaos. You succeeded where we failed because you did not repeat our mistakes. Behind Helen, more architects were visible, moving through their ship. They looked like various species from across the galaxy. Some were humanoid, some were not. They were diverse, adapted to different environments, united by common purpose. We watched your choice, Helen continued. When the curator gave you the cure, you could have hoarded it. You could have chosen which species to save and which to abandon. Instead, you shared everything freely. You trusted that intelligence would make wise choices. That trust is what we lacked. That is why you survived and we nearly died. Tess stepped forward. What are your intentions now? Will you reclaim your position in the galaxy? Helen looked sad. Reclaim? We have no position to reclaim. This is your galaxy now. We are refugees from a dead age. We hoped you might allow us to join you as equals. We have much to teach, but we also have much to learn. You have 6 months of experience managing dragon populations. We have only ancient theory. The fleet representatives conferred quickly. Some wanted to welcome the architects immediately. Others urged caution. But the decision was ultimately easy. The galaxy was big enough for everyone. You are welcome, Owen said, not as rulers or as servants, as partners. We face challenges you understand better than we do. The Vex are still out there. The Blight could return. We need your knowledge. But we also need to preserve the freedom and diversity that saved us. Can you accept those terms? Helen bowed deeply. We accept gratefully. We made many mistakes in our time. Perhaps together we can avoid repeating them. Over the following months, the architects integrated into galactic society. They shared technology carefully, always explaining rather than imposing. They helped establish dragon sanctuaries where the creatures could breed safely. They taught techniques for detecting blight outbreaks early. They opened their archives, millennia of history and science available to anyone who wanted to learn. But they also learned from younger species. Human creativity impressed them. Krell philosophy taught them new ways of thinking. The diversity of galactic life amazed architects who had grown up in a more uniform culture. They began to understand what they had been missing during their age of dominance. Owen worked closely with Helen, studying dragon biology together. They discovered that the dragons were more intelligent than anyone had realized. They were not animals. They were people in a form most species could not recognize. They had culture, history, emotions. They remembered the architects and held no grudges for being created rather than evolved. They were simply grateful to exist. One day, Owen and Helen stood on an observation platform orbiting Anne's star, the newborn sun where everything had changed. Dragons swirled through its corona, dozens of them playing and feeding and living. The star burned bright and healthy, free from the blight. Anne would have loved to see this, Owen said quietly. Helen nodded. She had read Anne's research, studied her sacrifice. She understood something we did not. That life's purpose is not to be controlled or perfected. Life's purpose is simply to be, to exist, to grow, to change. We spent 10,000 years trying to perfect the galaxy. We should have spent that time learning to appreciate it as it was. Owen thought about the journey that brought him here. Following a dying dragon into the dead zone, finding an ancient ship, making an impossible choice. Watching new life emerge from sacrifice and hope. What about the Vex? Owen asked. They are still out there. The curator said they might return. Helen's expression became serious. They will return. Perhaps in a year. Perhaps in 1,000 years. But they will come. They view biological life as inefficiency to be eliminated. They will not stop until they succeed or are destroyed. Then we need to prepare. Yes. But preparation does not mean weapons alone. The Vex defeated us because we became like them. We built machines to fight machines. We forgot what made biological life worth defending. You have not made that mistake. Your strength is your diversity, your freedom, your willingness to sacrifice for each other. Preserve that. When the Vex return, that will be your greatest weapon. Owen looked at the dragons dancing in the star. They were individuals, each one unique. Some were bold, diving deep into the stellar core. Others were cautious, staying in the cooler outer layers. Some traveled alone. Others moved in groups. They were free to be what they wanted. That freedom made them stronger than any controlled creation. A young dragon noticed Owen watching and approached the observation platform. It was one of the original hatchlings from Anne's star, born from the last dragon's sacrifice. It pressed against the platform's force field, curious and playful. Owen placed his hand against the field. The dragon mirrored the gesture with a plasma tendril. He felt warmth radiating through the barrier. Connection. Understanding. Two different forms of life recognizing each other as equals. They will protect the galaxy, Helen said. Not because we programmed them to, because they choose to. Because this is their home. Our home, Owen corrected. All of us. Humans, architects, dragons, every species and every system. We all belong here. Helen smiled. Yes, our home. Worth fighting for. Worth dying for. Worth living for. Owen received a message from Leo. His daughter had been accepted into the xenobiology program at the University of Haven's Edge. She wanted to study dragons, inspired by Owen's work. Leo was proud but worried about the danger. Owen had replied that danger was worth it if you were pursuing something meaningful. More messages came in daily. Scientists reporting new dragon sightings. Governments requesting advice on stellar management. Students asking questions about architect history. The galaxy was alive with activity, with learning, with hope. Owen thought about writing a report about everything that had happened. The expedition, the discovery, the sacrifice. But words seemed inadequate. How did you explain watching a star being born? How did you describe a dragon's final flight? How did you capture the moment when a 50,000-year-old civilization woke up and chose humility over dominance? Instead, he sent a simple message to the Galactic Council. Mission successful. The dragons are thriving. The galaxy is healing. We are ready for whatever comes next. Because something would come. The Vex would return eventually. New challenges would emerge. Stars would still die, though more slowly now. Life was not a problem to be solved, but a journey to be experienced. There would always be danger. There would always be sacrifice. But there would also always be hope. Owen looked at Anne's photo one final time. She smiled back at him from across the years. They had done it. They had changed the galaxy together. They had proven that intelligence could overcome extinction, that cooperation was stronger than control, that life would always find a way. The Anne Reed prepared for its next expedition. More architect ships waited in the dead zone. More knowledge waited to be discovered. More dragons waited to be understood. The work was never finished. But that was fine. Owen had the rest of his life to explore, to learn, to help the galaxy heal. He took one last look at Anne's star, at the dragons dancing in its light, at the proof that sacrifice could birth miracles. Then he turned and walked to the bridge. Leo was waiting with a star chart. Tess was ready with her scanners. Helen stood beside them, eager to see what wonders her species had left behind. Where to next? Leo asked. Owen pointed at coordinates in the deepest part of the dead zone. There. The curator mentioned another sanctuary ship before it died. Let us go find it. The Anne Reed jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, Anne's star burned bright and healthy. Dragons spread across the galaxy, healing stars, creating life. The architects were awake, sharing knowledge, learning humility. Humanity stood alongside dozens of species, equal partners in galactic stewardship. The future was uncertain but full of possibility. The past was honored but not worshipped. The present was a gift earned through sacrifice and hope. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, dragons flew free, protecting the light that made life possible. They were the children of the last dragon, the inheritors of the architect's legacy, the guardians of a galaxy that had learned to save itself, and they would never let the light go dark again.